Hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency and welcome back to our channel. Okay, so I'm gonna get right to the point. School has been a ride so far. To put it lightly. There have been like a lot of ups, downs, just general cringy and uncomfortable moments. And I feel like a lot of that is sort of due to school being online. There's like a level of like excuse when like cringy things happen in person. Because like you're kind of just like face to face with the professor and the class. So like, how does it look if you're there like laughing at someone to their face? So, since we are online, we do have this platform. It kind of encourages a new wave of just like uncomfortableness, which is just like so unprecedented. And I can say like firsthand, a lot of stuff has happened to me. And I just wanted to share that because like, you know, I don't really have anyone else to really tell these stories to. So today I'm going to be telling you some of the most awkward, cringy, uncomfortable experiences I've had in online classes so far. And there are quite a few, and we're only halfway through the semester. So if you want to see a part 2 to this, let me know. Before I get into that though, if you're not already, subscribe, check out my ASMR channel, and follow me on my social medias here at Imurgency. Let's get into this. So all these stories have either directly happened to me or they happened to a class that I was in. Oh, by the way, before I get into this, I mean no ill will to anyone mentioned in this video or alluded to in this video. Like literally the only reason I'm telling these stories is because they actually made my day. And they're just things that I will now carry on with me forever. So for like this first story, I'm in this acting class, right? Because like for whatever reason, I was like, you know what? If this YouTube thing doesn't work out, if like this communications thing doesn't work out, at least I can like act, right? Wrong. We do this thing where like we do these different warm-ups, right? Because apparently I'm not too familiar with this because like I'm not an actor, but like there are these different exercises that you do to basically warm up your voice and your mind to get ready to act. And if you're not too familiar with acting, it's kind of I'll say quirky.
He was my brother!
Yeah. So when we were doing these warm-ups, mind you, we're on Blackboard, which is basically like my school's equivalent to like Zoom. Everyone's camera is off except for my professor's. She is an amazing professor, like she is so good at what she does. But this particular time, all the cameras are off. Her camera was the only one on because I think she was just teaching us how to do it. And she basically just shows us this whole routine. And normally this would be fine. Like this would be a-okay, like all right, teacher's teaching us. But it's just the way I just genuinely don't know how to describe it. And like, mind you, I am literally just sitting in my chair chilling. She's going through this whole routine, all this choreo, all this everything, while the whole class is just sitting there watching. And I'm like,
okay, get it, sis.
Like I said it before and I'll say it again, like the professor was doing her thing, like go off sis, like do what you need to do. But at the same time, I was at a loss for words. Like I was honestly at a loss for words because I was not expecting that. Like it literally just came out of nowhere. Like no one expected this. Like why, how did we get here? How did this happen? But yeah, that happened. That was an interesting turn of events that I didn't expect. Another story of where things were just awkward and uncomfortable. This one's actually kind of funny. In addition to acting, I'm also taking the social media class. It was literally the first day of that class. Like it was the first time we were ever meeting. And this class was not on Blackboard, it was actually on Zoom. You know how like everyone has like a Zoom profile at this point. Like if you have a Zoom account, like it comes with a name. And I think like the week before I changed my name to something stupid. Like it had my name in it, sort of, but like there are a bunch of random letters in front of it. Don't ask me why, but I forgot that I had this logged in account. And for some reason I didn't notice, but I also had my like computer's volume off. Like it was just muted for some reason. So I try and join the class and I'm just like stuck in the waiting room, and I'm like in the waiting room for a bit, and like a couple minutes go by, and I'm like, okay, am I in the right class? Am I in the right section? Like, and eventually my professor actually lets me into the classroom, but it's like dead silent. Like I can't hear a thing. And somehow eventually my 2 brain cells actually start working and realize, oh wait, your laptop's actually muted. So I unmute, and like my professor's like, hello? Hello? Who is this? All right, I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to respond before I kick you out. But thanks so much for joining the class. And I'm like, that's weird. Does he not know I'm in the class? Am I not on the register? Am I not on the list? Is it because I'm black? Like all these thoughts go in my head, and then I like look at my name and I'm like, This man thinks I'm some kind of intruder because my name has nothing to do with my actual name. Cause like my camera was off too. Camera was off, audio was off, everything. Like they fully thought I was some kind of like Zoom sniper, like some random person who just joined the class. And like the worst part is like he stopped his entire lecture to do this. Like he was talking, like I said, I was a few minutes late to class. Like he'd already started class. But like I joined and he stopped the lecture. So like everyone was sort of like. But then, don't worry, my brain cells kicked in again. They put in double the work they normally do. And I actually unmuted and actually turned on my camera and was like, all right, no, I'm actually good, it's all good. And like introduced myself and I was like, hi, I'm Rumi. And yeah, I'm actually supposed to be in this class, I'm sorry. And it was just like really awkward because I had to like explain why my name was not my name. It's like one of those things where like there's too many like factors where you can't really explain yourself fully. So I just had to like kind of suck it up and just be like, yeah, I'm not a creep. I need to tell you about another story I just remembered. There's also a time, a separate story, where my class literally like bullied my professor. Like bullied my professor. Like I honestly felt really bad because it was, again, the first day of that class. No, like literally it was the first day of that class. And like, you know, it's a Monday. Literally the first day the semester started, so everyone's like really fresh. No one really knows how to work anything. My professor logs on after everyone else is on. And she starts talking. And her audio was like fine, but it was also like kind of like scratchy. Like if you tried, you could hear what she was saying, but like it wasn't like really audible, if you know what I mean. So like this one guy in class is like,
Professor, we can't really hear you all that well.
and she's like, oh, okay. And she was wearing AirPods at the time. She's like, oh, okay, it was probably the AirPods. No, let me take out the AirPods. And then her audio goes completely off. Like, we can't hear it. And then he's like,
Professor, we still can't hear you. Like, we can't hear you at all now.
Then she actually gets up and then leaves. And like 2 minutes later, she comes back with a pair of like the wired headphones, plugs that in, and the audio is actually fine. Like it's all well and good. Like everything's good. We can hear her well. But that is when something clicked inside of like half the class's heads where they just wanted to pretend like they couldn't hear her. Like she was coming in loud and clear. Like you can clearly hear what she's saying. Like I don't know if it was something about the vibes, like no one wanted to actually be in class that day. I don't know if everyone like forgot how to hear or something. But like yet again, he's like,
Professor, I can't hear you. What? Your audio is just not working. I can't hear what you're saying.
and I'm like, okay, he's clearly f***ing with her. Like she'll notice. But like she believes him. And like she responds like, you can't hear me? And he responds, he's like,
No, I can't hear you.
and she's like, and to make things worse is that other people start joining in. Like the little chat section was going up like, I can't hear you either, professor. Like I can't hear what you're saying. And I'm like,
So, my
Ears.
are correct.
did we all forget to hear, or do none of us want to be in this class? Like I can't figure it out. And then my professor like gets genuinely concerned because she's like,
You guys hear me? Hey, let me know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
and it got to the point where the professor literally left the meeting, like left the class. And I bet like she restarted her whole computer because like it took a while for her to come back. And then, only then did they want to actually disclose that they could actually hear her. Like it's the fakeness for me. It's the way that everyone played along for me.
Now, I know in a situation like this, y'all may be asking, Rumi, what were you doing while all this was happening? And to that, I say, I will actually recite a quote from one of the best poets of our generation, Nicki Minaj. I just sat back and observed. Whether that makes me liable, a bystander to the situation, that's not really the topic of discussion, so you're gonna need to pipe down with that one. But yeah, I kind of just sat back and watched the show. And here we are today.
Like you want to talk about a group project, like I haven't seen that level of collaboration since before the pandemic. Like damn. I feel like a lot of these like online situations sort of revolve around like professors, because like I'm sure like most professors weren't trained on how to run an online class before all this. So like you can't really blame them. But my next story does involve another instance of my professor kind of like not knowing. So in this class, this professor's a little older, like either like a boomer or like the boomer's parent. Ooh, what's that mean? I'll just say that this professor's a little older. I'm not sure he knew exactly how all this really worked in terms of like setting up a meeting and setting up a classroom. And he like accidentally gave the whole class like moderator permissions. So basically we were essentially all hosts of the meeting. So we could probably end the meeting if we wanted to, which is where you see an issue. We didn't shut down the class, I will say, just as a preface. We're not evil, but we did have a little bit of fun with it. So like as like a classroom moderator, you have basically access to like move all the slides around. You have access to like answer questions and like choose who gets to speak. And like y'all know like the raise hand feature. Like actually every time he'd go through a couple of slides, like someone would go back like 5 slides and he'd be like, oh, it seems like my slides are malfunctioning. And like I felt so bad because like he was taking it so serious. He thought it was his fault. Like he genuinely did not know what was going on when it was actually his students fucking with him. And it got to the point where he's like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening. Like there must be some kind of bug with the system. Meanwhile, everyone's kikiing because I know exactly what's going on. And then this class is like kind of participation based. So like there's a lot of instances where people would want to participate and like you need to raise your hand to actually get the professor's attention to speak next. So if you looked at the little section where you can like see who's raising their hand, you had the ability to like lower their hand so they wouldn't speak. So like there's usually like 5 or 6 people always in like a queue to like talk and like raise their hand. And every so often you'd see someone raise their hand and then get put right back down. And like the funny part is you can't really see who lowers your hand, like it just gets lowered.
By the way, I know you're wondering, so I wanted to quickly answer. The reason why I keep looking off to the corner is because I like to really engage with my live studio audience. I really like entertaining the masses whenever I speak, so I generally hold the public event. Always super social distance, 6 feet away, masks and everything. But generally like my audience of about 200 comes to every single recording and gasses me up. So I'm always looking at them, engaging with them, and like, you know, giving a little checks. You know, I love interacting with my fans. So just wanted to clear that up in case you were wondering.
So at a certain point, I felt like it was a game and like people were just trying to see who could get like participation. Because like people would shut other people down so quickly to the point where there can only be like one person participating at a time. Like I don't know what it was about quarantine that made everyone such a bully. Because at that point, you are crossing the line because you are getting in the way of someone's grade. And if there's one thing you never ever do as a student is get in the way of another student's grade. Because that's when you gotta start fighting, to be honest. Like everyone's paying all this money and you're trying to like fail me? Get me to have a lower participation grade? Like I don't really participate in the first place, and like the one time I wanna do it, you wanna shut me down? Like no. No sir, no ma'am. This next story is like so embarrassing because like it's like secondhand embarrassment. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to someone in my class. Basically in this one class there was this girl and she was waiting to answer a question for the longest time. Like she had her hand up for the longest time. And for whatever reason, when the professor actually eventually called on her, like that second, I don't know what really happened on her side, like what was going on. But like apparently someone must have pressed the wrong button for her. Like a sibling must have walked in or something, because the second she got called on and she unmuted her mic, she turned around and was like, "What the are you doing? Get like, oh my god." And she was actually like yelling and cursing out someone off screen, and it was the funniest thing ever. Because afterwards she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My sibling decided to come into the room right as I was about to speak, and it's just been one of those weeks, you know?" Like, no. But like actually I kind of relate because like mentally I'm like there. This final story is especially juicy because this was the time that I read Gabby Hanna's poetry for my entire class. This is acting class again. I'm literally right about to tell myself. We had to recite some poetry. We needed to find a poem and like read it out to the class. And you know me, at that time I was not really too keen on school. I wasn't really paying attention to too much. So I didn't really get the memo until that class. So we're like going down the line, it's like everyone's gonna read their poem, class, like read it with emotion and read it with purpose. Like I'm really expecting y'all to be familiar with this poem and reading it with emotion. And I'm like, because like I did nothing. Like what was I supposed to do? So like something in my mind, I'm not sure if it was just like the whole drama that was going on with Gabby at the time, but like something in my brain just said, you know what hit right now? If I got some of Gabby Hanna's poetry, like imagine the power that I'd have reciting Gabby Hanna's poetry in front of my entire class. So that's exactly what I did. So, and like telling on myself, if you're my professor and you're watching this for whatever reason, no you didn't, I'm sorry. Just pretend like you didn't see this, please. So it's like my turn and I pull up the first Gabby Hanna poem that I can see, and I'm like, literally, I'm like, this poem is by Gabby Hanna. She's like kind of underground, so like you might not know her, but like she's an up and coming poet. And I read it, like I actually like recite it. And like I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I did a pretty good job. But like no one checked me or anything on it. And I felt like that was like an ultimate like power move. Like honestly, like who do you know is reciting Gabby Hanna in the middle of their acting class? And like the worst part was you had to like explain like the meaning behind it. So I was like, you know, during these unprecedented times, I feel like it's really relatable that everyone feels lonely even when they're with people, just because, you know, things are just so hard right now. in the way I got a standing ovation. I mean, like I didn't, but like in my mind I did. And I think I did well, like I didn't fail. So I feel like that's a win-win for me, honestly. But yeah, those are all the stories I have. Some honorable mentions for some awkward Zoom moments though. Number 3 is when you start talking to make a point in class and someone decides to talk at the same time as you. Not cute. Number 2 is forgetting to turn off your camera, especially when someone is saying something you may or may not agree with, and you're one of those people that have very active facial expressions. And coming in at number 1, the most awkward thing of anything online school related is the uncomfortable silence. Talking about the ones in classes, in breakout rooms, just in general, when there's just silence, like someone should be saying something, but they're not. But yeah, those are all the stories that I have so far. It's only halfway through the semester, so I'm really excited to see what else is gonna happen. Actually, no, I'm not excited at all. Let me know down in the comments below what awkward situations you've been in your classes so far. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on my post notifications so you never miss an upload. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by leaving a like, and make sure to follow me on my social media here at Imurgency. Other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been Imurgency, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.